Good evening and welcome back to another episode of the Final Flight podcast and the Weighing Room Review. And we're back once again with another bumper guest, Jim Crowley. Thank you very much for coming on, mate, and appreciate you giving up your time. How are you this evening?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Good, man. Well, like I say, we've been pretty well supported so far from the jockeys. So again, we really do appreciate you just giving up a little bit of your time and some of your insights. So thank you for that. Rich, have you had a good week so far? A decent weekend?
Yeah, it's been good. As a flat fan, the derby is probably the pinnacle of the season. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, we've obviously had the derby at the weekend. It was a fantastic performance from City of Troy. We'll get onto that shortly. But we won't keep people too long, so we're going to get straight into it. So if I can, Jim, we're going to kick off with the Coronation Cup. Obviously won by Luxembourg, a very good ride from Ryan Moore. What were your thoughts on sort of his ride and the ones in behind and the performance?
Well, yeah, it was a great ride. I mean, I think everybody pretty much knew what he was going to do. Emily Upjohn, she's not easy. She was a bit keen and paid the price, but Luxembourg's a very good horse, and like I said, Ryan judged it to perfection as always, and made it his race really, and completely controlled the race.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously spoke highly of Emily Upjohn, Rich, when we previewed the race, and Ryan sort of rode him to sleep and got it perfectly off the front. What did you make of it?
I mean, I thought it was a class ride, to be fair. Just a quick one. How difficult is it to ride that sort of style? Like trying to get the fractions right? It can't be easy, surely.
No, it's relatively easy. It's when you're on the right horse and you're not getting any pressure. Obviously, look, Emily Upjohn sat on his girth and was keen, but she was never going to take the running up too soon. So, like I said, Ryan could control the race how he wanted it. And like I said, he's a very good horse, Luxembourg. And pretty much I thought the race was over in the first furlong, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you say, class horse. Emily Upjohn, you could tell pretty much when she made a challenge that there wasn't a lot left in the tank. But obviously, she'll come on for the run, I'm sure. So, yeah, good ride, good win.
Yeah, I was mega impressed. And again, Ryan Moore riding absolutely out of his skin as he normally does anyway. That's another good one. We'll take that one going forward, definitely, especially Emily Upjohn in behind if she can sort that keenness out. Just moving on to the Oaks then. I mean, come to you again, Jim, if I can. We previewed the race. I mentioned to Rich this Azalea, or Azalea, so I can't pronounce the name. I thought the form was quite strong from Navan with Purple Lily, and she's gone and won for Dermot Weld. Obviously, Ylang didn't quite fire. What did you make of the overall picture of the race and maybe sort of the form going forward?
Best filly won. She's funny enough, she's not an overly big filly, but I'd been impressed with her going into Epsom, and like I said, she got the perfect ride. She got a perfect trip round, and she won very well, and she won on merit. I find it hard for any of those fillies. I think there was a few fillies in behind, the likes of Rafe Beckett's filly and Fairy. I forget her proper name, but
Fairy.
Yeah, she won at Chester. She looks like she'd probably want more of a galloping track. But like I said, certainly the winner, she winged round there, and she was very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned there a different maybe style of track. I mean, I come to you, Rich. We spoke a lot in the preview and with Jason on the show before about how horses can maybe not handle Epsom, and some certainly did, some certainly didn't. What did you make of, Ylang sort of going off favourite, not quite performing, or would you say she did perform? I mean, you mentioned Dancing Sequence, didn't you? Ran a massive race.
Yeah, I mean, Dancing Sequence, I was very impressed with. I thought she looked like the winner at one stage. She probably got a bit unbalanced, wandered about a little bit. but I don't think she'd have got to the winner personally. But definitely want to take forward. I think based on that. I mean, she was up from the mile in the Guineas to the Oaks Trip over 1-4. So I stick with her. But yeah, the winner was great. Ylang Ylang, I just can't seem to get her right. Every time I go to back her, she doesn't perform, and then when I don't, she'll run a big race. I mean, the Guineas looked like she probably. I think she was the right favourite at the time after the Guineas run, but yeah, the winner was very impressive, won it very well.
Yeah, I was happy to get one for the Irish, and I thought, to be fair, I thought I can't believe Rich has got another one for the boys in blue, but luckily the Irish came on and picked you. Brilliant. So moving on then to the last race, we're going to preview. We could spend a little bit of time on this, but obviously, no better place to start if you can, Jim, with yourself. You rode in the race, the Derby, the big one. City of Troy won. You managed fourth on Dieramar. We mentioned that horse with the first time pieces on. So I suppose the kind of questions I've been asking really is, in your opinion, sort of how was the race run? What did you make of it from where your position was, that sort of thing? Just any sort of insight, really. What did you make of the race?
Well, it was certainly run at a sound, honest pace. I thought, regards to Dieramar, we thought he'd run a big race, and he did. He had very good 2-year-old form, back end, and then look, he only won an ordinary race at Windsor, but I was very impressed with how he galloped at Epsom that morning when he went for a gallop around the track, and I thought the feel I got off him that day took a huge step from Windsor. So we were very happy with his run. He was a little bit slow away from the gates, and the horses on my left jumped quicker than him, and they were across in front of him, and he was pretty much on the back foot for the first furlong. They went quite quick up the hill, and it's very difficult then when you jump slow like that to try and make up ground uphill into a fast pace. So your bed's pretty much made. You have to sort of sit where you land. We were sort of around upsides Ryan. Ryan was on the inside on City of Troy, but obviously he was drawn in one, which meant he pretty much only had one way of riding that horse, and that was to ride him for luck. And hopefully they went a nice gallop, which his pacemaker did, and stretched the field, and it all opened up for him lovely up the inside. But look, he was a very good winner. And we were happy with our horse. He ran very well. I think if we'd have sat a little bit closer, I think he could have been third. But I like the way he stayed onto the line, and it certainly puts him in all those big races now towards the end of the year. And like I said, I'd like to think he'd take another step forward for that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything you said there, especially with your sort of mention how you maybe broke a little bit slow, maybe a little bit, out on the wings sort of as you turned in. But again, run a massive race. I mean, I'll come to you, Rich. Obviously, City of Troy, mega impressive. You've been talking about wanting somebody to come and kind of put up a big performance. In your opinion, was that the first one of the season that we've seen, really?
I mean, it's got to be answered. I mean, from where Ryan was positioned in stall one, I thought, like Jim said, he needs some luck to get out. I mean, he found it, and then before you knew it, he was gone, and the race was his. I thought second place ran a big race. I mean, there was all this controversy of Havlin getting the ride, but I thought he rode perfection, to be fair. I mean, he looked pretty sound, comfortable coming into the last couple of furlongs, but yeah, City of Troy was just some animal. I mean, to go from what we saw at the Guineas, obviously something wasn't right, and O'Brien's the master, isn't he? He did it with Augusta Rodin last year. So, yeah, I thought it was a good derby.
Yeah, I thought it looked a little bit like a knife through butter, I thought, up the inside. It just opened up like perfectly for him, and he got the perfect...
Everyone just seemed to get out of his way, didn't they? That's all that happened.
Yeah, I think he just shouted, "Move, I'm coming through. Let me through, lads, come on." But, yeah, I definitely think the second, I thought, like you say there, kind of looked like last off the bridle. I thought if he stays on strong, it is going to be some battle, but City of Troy just powered past him. But yeah, I thought Jim's ride there again, like you said there, I thought definitely one to take forward if he takes another step forward. And I actually put up as well Los Angeles. I thought he ran a decent race from sort of up on the pace. So yeah, a very good derby, I thought, and one that we'll take a lot out of going forward. Right, that's that for the quick sort of review. So thank you for your insight there, Jim. Next sort of segment we do is I'm going to pass over to Rich, and he's just going to ask you a couple of questions on a couple of your rides that you've maybe had the last couple of weeks or so. So take it away, Rich.
Yes, the first one we'll mention is you rode him today at Brighton. Mutamani, is it?
Yep.
We'll go with that one.
Just one more quick thing, actually, Jim. If he butchers all the names of the horses, please don't hold it against him because he's shocking at any pronunciation. Every single week he's getting it wrong.
Don't worry, I do it all the time. Don't worry.
I can't have simple names like Steve or something like that. Quite loads there.
Same ring to it, does it?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Go on, Rick.
I mean, he was very interesting with his second run at Ayr. I think he only went down by a neck against an odds-on shot, and then today he got dropped back down to 5 furlongs from 6. And again, I think he pushed him out to the line. He won pretty well. Do you think there's some potential there to go even further with him?
Well, I hope so. I mean, he was very unlucky at Ayr because it was only a 4-runner race, and 2 of them were sort of complete outsiders, and that left him. And he was very sharp away from the gates there, and he pretty much did all the donkey work on a horse who won the race, who loved something to aim at. And he got nabbed on the line. He set strong fractions early on that day. He wasn't hanging around, and he's got a lot of natural speed. So the obvious thing was to drop him back to 5, and obviously it would be easier to win break his maiden over 5 furlongs than it is probably 6. So look, it was a ideal race for him today. Once again, he showed good speed, and when the second came to him, he went again. So I'd like to think he'd get a reasonable mark, and he hopefully can continue to progress.
Yes, spot on. Right, the next one I've got. This one is slightly easier, I think. Faequa, I think, a filly. Looked to relish a step up and trip last time. I think she was up to a mile in Nottingham. Again, only going down by a neck against an odds-on shot. The favourite Native Warrior, I think, was behind Notable Speech, who obviously won the 2,000 guineas. Again, same question. How far do you think she can go? Do you think she can progress?
Well, yeah, she's got a lovely pedigree. She's not very big. She's a tiny little snip of a thing. But what she lacks in size, she makes up for in determination. And she's ran 2 very nice races now. Obviously, it was a very hot race at Ascot where she ran very well, and then she put in another good performance the other day. She runs this week at Goodwood, or she's entered to run in an apprentice race. She should take another step forward. I mean, like I said, she's not very big, but she tries, and she's shown a good level of form so far. So there's no reason why she can't get her head in front before long.
Perfect. I mean, she's by Baaeed. Do you think step up and trip will probably bring out a bit more improvement in her?
Yeah, I do. She's certainly improved for going up in trip, for sure.
Yeah. No, we'll definitely get her in a tracker. The last one I've got, kind of put him in there because he's by Blue Point, which is one of my favourite colts. MacArthur won a nice handicap at Doncaster last time out over 6. That was of 84. I think he's up to 91 now. The handicap has put him up. I looked at his Kempton races. He can be a bit keen, but he looked to settle a bit better at Doncaster. Do you think there's a bit of room in his mark of 91? How far do you think he can go?
Yeah, you're right. He's not been easy. He won very well back end last year, and he made the running, and he won well. But like I said, he went hard, and they tried to do a really good job with him this winter, getting him settled, and we then tried to drop him in round Kempton. But he's not that type of horse. He's a free going horse who likes to get on with it, naturally fast. And like I said, Doncaster suited him. I could keep him away for other horses, and he got into a nice rhythm. And I thought he put in a really good performance that day. Where he goes next, I'm not quite sure, but he's got enough speed to come back for 5. And he's a horse I like a lot. He's very physically strong horse. He's all there. He looks a man, and he's got a lot of natural speed. So maybe they might have a look at Royal Ascot with him. The handicap there for 3-year-olds, which would be of interest. I'm sure he'd run very well in that. But like I said, hopefully he can progress into a nice sprinter.
Yeah, hopefully. The the last one I've got to mention. Basically, I was reading a bit on Richard Hughes's horses to follow. I think you're riding a horse for him on Wednesday called Vamp. I'm sure. I'm sure he mentioned somewhere that potentially she was going to be a Royal Ascot potential. I just wondered, have you sat on her?
No, I don't know anything about her. I've seen I'm down to ride her, and that's as much as I know so far.
Oh well, apparently she's in the Royal Ascot type, so no pressure. She should be all right.
Let's hope so. Nice.
No, that's all.
Where are your new race planners, Jim? Where are your new race planners? So we'll let you know where you're riding. Okay. Go on, Rich.
No, that's it. That's my three. Unless you've got anything to add, James.
Yeah, well, there was just one I was going to mention. I mean, we had a good winner from Jason last week for the weekend, and I'm a massive fan of Haydock, and I just had a quick look if you were booked in for Saturday, but you are booked in on a horse called Maglac. I just thought if you've got a bit of a line through him, what if you got the fancies for him?
Yeah, look, he's a decent horse. He's in it. Is it Haydock on Saturday? Is it?
It's on Saturday, yeah.
You know, he ran. I think he ran up in the. Was he in the Red Car Trophy?
Correct. Yep.
And I think probably just didn't happen for him round there. He was drawn wide. Mile and a quarter would have been probably on the sharp side for him, especially around Red Car. He's a mile and a half horse, likes digging the ground. So Haydock, you never know what you're going to get up there with the weather.
Yeah,
it's different every time I've been there. It's different, and they say it's one thing and it's another. But for me, he's a nice horse, mile and a half, bit of cut in the ground, and that's his gig.
Fingers crossed then, fantastic. I suppose just a quick line on what you said there with Haydock. I mean, do you find that happens quite often where maybe the ground descriptions are given by courses and you maybe do a ride and you think, hang on, I don't think it's quite that?
Yeah, all the time. It's actually very frustrating. Because you could ride a horse that day and they're giving the ground as good when quite clearly it's firm or good to firm or vice versa, and then you report to the owner or the trainer that the horse may not have let himself down on the ground, and then you open up the paper next day and it's good ground. And yeah, it can be frustrating. I don't think they're always correct. Some clerk of the courses are better than the others. But some of them are very good. I mean, I'm a huge fan of some of the guys, Andrew Cooper, and there's some really good clerk of the courses out there who always produce lovely ground. So it's not an easy job. It's not an easy job for them. That's one thing for sure. Yeah,
I can imagine that. I mean, like you say, they've got plenty to look after, but hopefully they can get it right for you. Get it right for you at Haydock on Saturday. Lovely. That's that for that segment then. So the last sort of section with you, if I can, Jim, is we normally ask for a couple of horses to follow, whether it's a couple of horses you're maybe going to ride or we haven't seen yet, or you've sat on working or anything like that. Have you managed to get two for us?
Yeah, there's a few horses that probably from the older brigade who are back. There's a horse called Anmat who won a Group 1 last year at the beginning of the year. He won the Prix d'Ipsan, and he was due to run the Coral Eclipse against Paddington, and I actually thought he'd run a huge race. Unfortunately, he went wrong just before the race, and he's been back at Shadwell recuperating. He's come back into training this year, but if we can get him back to that form he was in before, then I think he's a high class horse. I mean, his form is very, very good. When he won in France, I mean, you look at the race, what's come out of that and won. It's extraordinary. So I'd love to see him come back. We got Huckham back, who obviously got injured after winning the Coronation and then came back and won a King George. So if we can get Anmat back, I'd be delighted, because for me, I think he's a very good horse. And then we've got a few of the other ones. Al Failer, who was last seen in the Champion Stakes. He's a decent horse. It didn't work out for him that day. He got too far back, but he's back. He's in work and he's going nicely. I think he'll probably have an entry in the Prince of Wales Stakes, and he's a high class horse. So I'm looking forward to him. And obviously our horse who ran in the 2000 Guineas, he's a decent horse now. So He's going to head to Royal Ascot for the St James's Palace Stakes. Looking forward to him. So yeah, a few of the older ones are still quite exciting. Regards to 2-year-olds, I sat in a lovely 2-year-old for George Bowie last week at Yarmouth called El Burhan, who broke his maiden there. He possibly could go for the Chesham at Royal Ascot. He's by New Bay. I really like him. I think whatever he does this year is just going to be a bonus for next year, because he's still got a lot of growing to do. And yeah, he'll be a lovely horse next year.
Fantastic. I love that. I mean, it's so hard to get a gauge on the 2-year-olds. I mean, it is for me anyway, and especially it's for Rich, because he's but we do try. But like you said, they've got so much growing still to do and things like that. But we'll keep an eye on those, definitely, in a couple of those older boys coming back. So thank you for that. Rich, then we'll move on to your eye catcher. Then I've got one last little bit to talk about. But have you got an eye catcher that you got from last week?
I do, yes. So a familiar face came third at Epsom on Saturday. Due for Luck, rode by Jason Hart. I thought he was very unlucky. Caught on the rail, didn't have a clear passage. Still managed to get third. The winner was drawn next to him, had a much clearer ride. Yeah, I won't give up on him. I think there's definitely a win in there later on down the line. Just needs a bit of luck.
Yeah, it certainly does. It's still due a little bit of luck, but I love that. But yeah, fingers crossed he can get a win eventually. Right then, so the last little bit then, Jim, is kind of, I think I'd kick myself if for getting you on. And it's not often, that guys like myself and Rich, just racing fans, get to sit down and talk to you guys. So thanks for coming on. But I kicked myself. I didn't ask you about the mighty Baaeed. I mean, we were there at York the day that you won, and it was just a brilliant occasion and everything. And I just thought, I had to ask you, what were your experiences riding a horse like that? And just give us a bit of insight into what it's like.
It is an amazing experience, because I think from the very first moment I rode him, when he won at Newmarket, I realised then, he was a bit special. And he just lived up to it. I mean, every time, it was a great experience riding him. I honestly didn't feel any pressure riding him, which is a lot of people used to say to me, "Oh, do you feel the pressure riding him?" And I didn't, because I knew he was that good that, if you were in a tight pocket or something like that, he'd always get you out. And, for me, he put in some brilliant performances. Obviously, he was brilliant in the Lockinge and then the Queen Anne, and I thought the Sussex Stakes he was class. But I suppose the icing on the cake was the Juddmonte that day.
Yeah.
And he was just magnificent. That day was, for me, probably one of the best days racing I ever had. I had so much confidence in him that he just gave me an unbelievable feel that I probably will not be able to replicate since, So,
yeah.
But he had so much speed. I think that's the thing. A lot of people, people say these really top class milers, and sometimes it's thrown off the cuff that they could drop back to 6, and like those top class horses can do it. And like I've no doubt he would have won a July Cup. He had that much pace, and that proved it when Alcohol Free did it. She came back after winning a Sussex Stakes, and so yeah, he had a lot of speed. Unfortunately, the last day he ran, it was bottomless ground, mile and a quarter, and maybe he just had, felt the effects of not a long season, but York maybe took it out of him. But it was a shame it finished that way, because for me, he, it never took any away how good he was. I'd love to have seen him go to America for a Breeders' Cup or something. But listen, it was one of those things, and for me, he was a special, and as was his brother Huckham. Huckham was, look down his race record, like what he done was extraordinary. He worked his way up. He obviously didn't have the class or speed of Baaeed, but for him to go and win a King George, being a full brother, was great.
Yeah, it was exceptional. Like I say, do you want to add anything to that, Rich, for Baaeed?
No, I mean, for me, it was when he beat Palace Pier. That was when I think he announced to everyone that he is the proper real deal. It was just immense.
Yeah, he did it well that day. I mean, to be honest, it was Frankie got a lot of stick off that, but it was probably a little bit unfair because people didn't really sort of know how good Baaeed was going to be then. But and actually, the ground that day at Ascot was good to soft, and I feel that if it had took him Palace Pier on good to firm, you know, he would have won a bit further than the neck, you know. So yeah, he was a great horse. I was very, very lucky to have come across him.
Yeah, you just got to enjoy him. I think as racing fans, we just love to see a superstar emerge from out the pack. It's just good to see.
Yeah, I suppose every time he won, it was like he got compared to Frankel, which is every horse, a good horse who comes along now. Yeah. You can't compare to Frankel. He's unbelievable. But listen, he was right up there with the best we've seen in the last sort of 10, 20 years. So it's great.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, it certainly was. And like I say, as racing fans, we love seeing those kind of horses and seeing a day like that and experiencing it sort of, you know, with you a little bit in the crowd. It was fantastic that day at York. So congratulations on that. And hopefully another one pops up somewhere. Who knows? You never know, dear. But thank you for that little bit of insight. Well, that's it then, Jim. To be honest, we like to fly through it and keep it short and sweet. So again, thank you very much for coming on and giving us your time and a bit of knowledge from your side. Have you enjoyed yourself?
Yeah, no, thanks for having me on. It's been good fun.
Good man, appreciate it. And you, Rich, you had a good time. Obviously, you love it, don't you?
Yeah, you know, I keep saying every week just to get to chat to jockeys who actually know what they're doing rather than us two just kind of guessing at it. It's just good to get some insight to the racing because, you know, racing fans don't really get to see behind the scenes as it were. So it's good fun.
Yeah, we try not to fanboy too much. Hopefully we haven't fanboyed you too much, Jim, but thank you for coming on, mate. Right, so again, my final word to everyone watching. Hope you've enjoyed that and enjoyed Jim's knowledge there and his experiences, and we'll be back again hopefully next week with another show. Subscribe to the channel if you can, like the video, the whole shebang. So yeah, follow us on Twitter and that. And yeah, thanks for another show, and we'll see you all again next week. Cheers, Jim. Much appreciated.
No problem. Good luck. Thank you.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.